So we got a quick road trip today in the Honda, the most reliable daily driver on the market, the Honda Civic, or as some of my friends like to call it, the Honda Rari. Gear bag, we got some parts we got to drop off. We got a completely full back seat. Still got some snow on the ground here in Southern Oregon. It should all be melted within a couple of days. Hopefully winter is behind us, but welcome back. Excited to, we just got to drive about an hour north. Actually, probably more like an hour and a half. We are actually getting back in a race car. It's been since Chili Bowl, so almost 1 month, just under a month since I've raced anything, but excited to get back in the factory QRC number 18T this weekend. I'm driving up there right now because I'm going to be testing tonight. We have kind of something that we're working on with the red cars. Off the freeway right now. Here's where we're at, Douglas County Fairgrounds. You can see the big track there. There's the grandstands. That's where we race in the summertime. We had a high limit show there, had a big 360 race, ran with NARC. Excited to get back there after our podium with high limit. Feel like we that's one place we do have a legitimate shot. If we can put together a whole night, we can compete for a national win. All right, we're gonna get parked here, get a pit pass, and I believe they're gonna be practicing here shortly. Outside the building, you can see the pit area. There's a few cars tonight here to practice before their War in the Woods race this weekend. It's $5,000 to win the open class here at the Roseburg Indoor. I have not made a start here this winter. Usually I have the black 18T, build a car, got my 4-stroke, but ever since that thing blew up a little over a year ago in Shawnee, I kind of just put my Outlaw kart program on hold for a little bit. My motor literally was in pieces, and now it's put back together. I got to pick it up here soon, and just with, you know, some other things going on in my racing career, with us focusing on the sprint car program and really working that direction and trying to maximize. Like I said, I figured my Outlaw kart stuff in the winter could kind of just be on hold, race for Jimmy Elledge in the red 18T when I can, so that's what I'm running this weekend. But want to head inside, remind you what this place looks like. Here's a look at the Roseburg Indoor. Typically this is one of the faster Outlaw kart tracks on the West Coast. This material, it holds good moisture, and just with how the banking is, like you can get going really fast, especially around the high side. But at the same time, you have to watch the surface, because we've also seen races here where it's one on the bottom. Another thing you have to judge as a driver and trying to set up a car is, you know, a lot of their weekly shows, let's say, have X amount of cars, where this weekend they have 6 divisions. They're gonna have cars from, you know, up north, down south, you know, a bigger car count than normal, so we might see the racetrack go through even more different changes, and that'll be something to kind of stay on top of. But here's kind of inside the building. Here in just a little bit, I'm sure they'll have cars on track. We'll be getting suited up just to practice, and we're gonna get cars unloaded as well, so we can get ready for the night and get ready for the weekend. So there's 2 guarantees racing in Oregon in the winter time. 1, it's going to be cold as heck. 2, it is definitely going to be raining. So that's what we're preparing for the next couple nights. You can see us getting the tent set up. We're getting cars on stands inside, and we're getting things enclosed so we can fire up the heaters. So there's usually only one real reason where Jimmy Elledge would want to practice, and that's when we're trying something out. And you're looking at what we're trying out right here, experimenting with our engine package. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it later. Here's kind of the catch to the situation. We're practicing, but Jimmy unfortunately wasn't able to be here tonight. The QRC factory down in Red Bluff flooded a couple days ago, so they've been picking up that mess, and I've literally had operations basically halted at the factory, you know, making go-karts, making parts, assembling, the whole 9 yards. So he's going to be trying to come up later in the weekend, but for now it's just me, and we have some other crew help. And we were planning on, like I said, doing some experimenting here, so we're keeping everything to plan, and I'm going to run some laps tonight, and I figured I would kind of share it with you and then talk more through it as we go, because I'm excited to see. But this thing's supposed to make good horsepower. It's supposed to run a little different than a normal CR500, and I guess we're about to find out here in just a few minutes as I climb in, fire up, and we'll head out for our first session. impression, but it seemed like it was, that was a lot of work probably for 5 laps.
Hey, at least we got it on video.
Yeah. Here, yo. Yeah, so, I mean, we're gonna check, I mean, it felt like it blew up. Yeah. It's really good. Is that in gear? Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, it felt good for like the first 5 laps. Well, already changed out of my my fire suit. That did not last long. Our science project, as Jimmy likes to call it, it lasted about five laps until we got there, just going down the back stretch. And you know, luckily it was a pretty smooth process. Just felt the tires lock up, the engine, you know, lost RPM, tires locked up, and I kind of just rolled around until they pushed me off. Up until that, everything ran pretty smoothly. The engine felt like it made a lot of top end power, especially halfway down the straightaway and into the corner. And then like kind of, you know, I would say going off the corner is the only spot where it kind of struggled a little bit. It felt just a tiny bit lazy on the gas, which, you know, this was just fresh laps. We didn't even get a chance to do any tuning. So those were literally the first legit laps on the racetrack. Up until that point, it felt like the engine ran well. What's noticeably different is how smooth it is. Like even just idling here in the pit area, you know, like a normal 500, it rattles so bad. That one was very, very smooth. Didn't shake, it was comfortable to sit in the car. And then even the takeoff kind of felt similar to that. What I did notice is we probably would have ended up doing some tuning on the engine because it made really good top end power. Like it felt like as I was going into the center of the corner, I was still like increasing my speed. But then when I had to get off the gas, it just wasn't as responsive as probably we would have hoped, but that's why we're here testing, because, you know, ideally you would make some changes, because if it would have been just that little bit more responsive, it definitely felt overall faster at the end of the straightaway. But you can see we got the engine off now, and they're putting one of the normal bullets on inside one of our standard Jimmy Elledge Racing package CR500s, but always fun to come up here and kind of test. Poor Jimbo, he gave me a call after, he said, how did it go? I was like, well, it made it about 5 laps, and the 5 laps did not feel bad. You know, like I said, were they perfect? Was it eye-opening? Not necessarily, but definitely we had something that was right where we wanted it to be, and there was still plenty of room for improvement for the first few laps of the night. And he kind of said it best on the phone. He said in order to go forward, sometimes you have to take one step back. You have to try something that, you know, might put you at a halt for a second, which is how tonight could have felt by blowing up an engine, but it wasn't. Like I said, the engine felt competitive, and now we're, like I said, gonna, you know, be putting a fresh one on for the rest of the weekend, and felt like this was still a successful tuning session. Just anytime you get the opportunity to try to make your race program better, you're at least doing something right. All right, so that was a look at our test day at the Roseburg Indoor. Some of you are probably wondering, like, Tanner, why were you being so secretive all video? Just spill us the tea. So what we were testing there, I talked about, was a BRC 500. Now, a BRC 500 is just a little bit different than the normal CR 500 package that we normally run. And a lot of it, I believe, has to do with the bottom end of the engine, and then also what a BRC engine has compared to a CR is it has a counterbalance shaft. Now, that counterbalance shaft basically eliminates like most of the vibration that the engine creates. And if you ever ran a CR500, you know what I'm talking about. You sit there, it's uncomfortable, it rattles, it vibrates, the car shakes, and it kind of, you know, affects the power band. It makes a lot of peak power, and that's where a 4-stroke is at a disadvantage because it doesn't make as much peak power, but it makes up for it with the torque. Like you can see how it comes through the RPMs, and it's putting a lot more power to the ground, and that's why they can race together in Outlaw karts. Well, the BRC engine package is basically a mix of both. It makes the peak power of CR500, but with that counterbalance shaft, it puts power to the ground and has such a smooth power band, and technically I think would be better than a 4-stroke because, like I said, you have both. You have the peak power, you're making all the speed at the end of the straightaway, but you still come off the corner really well. So yeah, that's basically what we were trying to test there. I noticed a big difference. There's not a lot of BRC 500s in existence from what I know, and I believe they're made by a guy overseas. It was just kind of like a fun idea that they were doing in dirt bikes, and Jimmy's always looking for fun stuff and trying to make the most of everything. So it was just something for him to kind of, you know, want to try, and something us to kind of continue to maybe test into the future. And like I said, for our first run, I thought it was impressive just because I didn't think we were far off, or we were about equivalent with where we're already at. And we, you know, like weren't coming off the corner great there, you know, definitely need to do some more fine tuning. But what was impressive was, like I said, I felt like I was still gaining speed at the end of the straightaway, and how smooth it felt to drive. And usually when something feels smooth to drive, it almost feels like you're going slow out there. That's how a 4-stroke feels, where CR500 feels out of control. But yeah, so anyway, that's just a little bit of Outlaw Kart talk there, and glad that we could have shared some of the, you know, shared some of this testing with you. You guys didn't see us make many laps, but like I said, sometimes that is just part of the process. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. We'll have to keep you updated on when we have this thing back on the Red 18T. Deuces.